If you've been thinking about starting a garden, you've probably asked yourself one big question. Should you build raised beds or simply plant directly in the ground? The internet loves to argue about which one is better. Some people swear raised beds are the only way to grow food, while others say they're just an expensive trend. But here's the truth. Neither method is perfect, and choosing the wrong one for your situation could cost you time, money, and even your harvest. So before you spend hundreds of dollars on lumber or start digging up your backyard, let's break down the real differences between raised beds and in-ground gardening so you can decide which one is actually right for you. Raised beds, why so many gardeners love them. Raised beds have become incredibly popular, and it's easy to see why. Because the soil is elevated, it drains better after heavy rain, which helps prevent root rot and many common plant diseases. They're also easier to keep organized. Instead of wide rows with lots of empty space, raised beds allow you to plant more efficiently, making the most of a smaller area. Another major advantage is comfort. Since the soil is higher off the ground, there's less bending and kneeling, making gardening easier on your back and knees. And because you're filling the beds with your own soil mix, you have much more control over soil quality from day one. But raised beds aren't perfect. Here's the part many videos don't mention. Building raised beds can be expensive. By the time you buy lumber, screws, soil, compost, and other materials, the cost can add up much faster than most beginners expect. They also dry out more quickly than in-ground gardens because the soil is exposed on all sides. During hot summer weather, that often means watering more frequently. And while raised beds are excellent for many crops, they're not always necessary. Plenty of vegetables grow beautifully without them. In-ground gardening, the traditional choice. Planting directly in the ground has worked for generations, and for good reason. It's usually the most affordable way to start a food garden because you're using the soil that's already there. Large gardens are also much easier to create without building multiple raised beds. If your soil is naturally fertile, you may not need many improvements before planting. Over time, the soil ecosystem becomes healthier as worms, beneficial insects, and microorganisms continue improving the ground naturally. The challenges of in-ground gardening. Of course, in-ground gardens have their own downsides. If your soil is heavy clay, extremely sandy, or compacted, plants may struggle until the soil is improved. Drainage can also become a problem in areas with frequent rainfall. Weeds often spread more easily because they're connected to the surrounding ground. And depending on your garden layout, you'll likely spend more time bending, kneeling, and pulling weeds. Which vegetables do best? The good news is that most vegetables grow well in either setup. Tomatoes, peppers, cucumbers, beans, lettuce, carrots, onions, squash, and herbs can all thrive in both raised beds and traditional garden rows when given healthy soil, enough sunlight, and proper care. Success depends far more on good gardening habits than on the type of bed you choose. So, which one would I choose? If I had poor soil, limited space, or wanted a neat and organized garden, I'd probably choose raised beds. If I had healthy soil, plenty of room, and wanted to keep costs low, I'd happily plant directly in the ground. Neither choice is wrong. The best garden isn't the one that looks the most impressive. It's the one that's realistic for your budget, your space, and the amount of time you can actually spend taking care of it. Final thoughts. The truth is, both raised beds and in-ground gardening can produce amazing harvests. One isn't automatically better than the other. What matters most is starting with the space you have, improving your soil over time, and learning from each growing season. Don't let the perfect setup stop you from growing your first tomato, lettuce, or cucumber, because in the end, fresh food grown at home is a success, no matter where it's planted. If you enjoyed this comparison and want more simple, practical gardening advice, be sure to like this video and subscribe for more beginner-friendly tips, growing guides, and ideas to help you build a thriving food garden. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video, seedling.